Hey, power people. Welcome to Renewable Rides. I'm Gareth Evans.
And I'm Dan Roberts. We're the founding team of VECKTA, a platform and marketplace streamlining how companies buy on-site energy.
In each episode, we'll uncover the latest trends, challenges, and triumphs relating to the energy transition through the experiences of our team and our inspiring guests.
Our goal is to help companies take action to create a resilient, profitable, sustainable, and thriving energy future.
Let's go.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Renewable Rides. And today, Gareth and I are digging into the parallels between the energy transition and endurance events. Today will be a bit of an interview style between Gareth and I, having Gareth about 6 weeks off of his 100-mile run, which is just an unfathomable feat, but one that through a lot of planning and preparation, he was able to crush. Gareth, I think first and foremost, what made you take this on? Like, what was in your head 6+ months ago when this was a dream and an inkling in your eye?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure, Dan. And I think it was around Christmas time of 23. And, you come to the back end of the year and you're trying to reflect on what's gone well and what hasn't and what you want to improve for the year ahead. And we've got 3 core values at VECKTA, and I kind of live by them myself. And it's challenge limits, adapt purposefully, and empower co-creation. And here we are taking on one of the most audacious goals, disrupting a 100-year-old industry and supporting businesses around the world to realize more profitable and sustainable energy outcomes. And it feels hard and it feels unachievable to many people. And building a business to kind of disrupt that industry feels hard and unachievable sometimes. And you start to question that. And so this was a time of reflection. And I thought, what better way to prove to people that you can achieve these big audacious goals than taking on one beyond business and challenging those limits and realizing that you need to step outside the comfort zone every now and then and set these crazy, outlandish goals. How do you then create the plan to achieve it and adapt with purpose to support the body to go on that journey? And that's going to be the same for businesses going on this energy transition opportunity. And then how do you rally people around you and inspire them through co-creation to actually achieve those? So that was the plan. I didn't have a clue what that would result in. Started looking at some events. I had an amazing buddy, Rob DeCoo, who said, check out this Born to Run event just outside Santa Barbara, 100-miler. You might like it. And I signed up, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, I remember when you called me and said, "Hey, I think I'm going to do this," or "I've already committed. I've already bought my ticket to do this." 100 miles. It's a lot of people. That's a big bicycle race. 100 miles.
Yeah.
Nearly four marathons on your feet. So you set the goal. You identified this event, and you had a date. You had a deadline in many ways, and something that you had publicly committed to. I'm sure you told Melanie, you told me, you told the rest of the team here at VECKTA. So now you've got some public commitments out there. Talk us through. Okay, late December, you then had 5.5 months. How did you then put together your plan to get to where you needed to be? Because I imagine mid-December you were not in the physical condition that you need to be in order to put your body through that big feat. So talk us through how you got there and what you did at the time to put together the plan.
Yeah, definitely. When I committed to the race, I was only running sort of 5 to 10 kilometers a week. I was very much a casual runner, but having always being active, I had that kind of baseline fitness, let's say. And so the key was, how do you ramp up in a really sustainable way, and how do you set the framework around which you can achieve this goal, knowing that leading a business, being a family person, having friends, having other commitments, you need to be also adaptable around that. And so the key was, I did some research, found an awesome program, one that felt really quite achievable. So it was 4 days a week of training. It was 4 runs, ranging from small recovery runs to a long run each weekend, and then one speed session each week. And every week, just the mileage of each run built up. And it never built up beyond the point at which the body could handle, or the mind for that matter. You know, it always felt like it was incrementally achievable. And I think the reason why this is such an exciting topic is for businesses, you know, they feel overwhelmed by having set these goals or having the plan in place. But actually, you know, breaking it down into these bite-sized pieces, having a very consistent framework against which to operate, and knowing that there are so many variables that can impact the training regime, the business strategy. You know, in business, that's tariffs, it's incentives, it's fuel prices, it's the cost of capital. You know, these are changing all the time, and businesses aren't really sure how to adapt to that. And the key is having the framework and the process to know that you've got a very regimented, structured training plan, and you can adjust it to those variables on the fly, as long as you have the right systems, processes, data in place to do so. And that's what I love about these events is you can be as data heavy as you want, and you can use your Garmin watch or whatever watch you use and go real deep. Or sometimes you can just trust kind of your gut feel and your instinct and try and freestyle it, but that often catches you out. And the key is, you know, to override those kind of gut instinct feelings and get back to the data and see how you should be modifying on the fly.
Yeah, it's interesting. As you were sharing that, it made me think about, I was just catching up with a major supermarket chain earlier this week who has actually deployed a ton of projects. Very, very admirable, all the progress that they've already made. But it's interesting to hear that they have been freestyling it a bit. They've just identified a state or, you know, handful of different states that have high energy costs and just really focused on deploying on-site systems in those regions without really taking into account all of the other factors and variables. And when we started to talk through all the different things that they know that they should be keeping an eye on, but with the spreadsheet that they had, it wasn't really something that they could bring to their plan. They realized, wow, if I had a more structured approach, I could be more dynamic and respond to the changing market conditions. Made me think about our time in Germany or when us getting a couple runs in among being on our feet for hours on end at the Hanover Messe trade show, or getting out to Amsterdam and me and my friends heading out for King's Day, and you saying, I'll catch up with you guys in a couple hours. I've got 50K to run this day. Maybe talk about kind of how you were able to overlay your plan with just life and business.
Yeah, that's definitely the challenge, isn't it? And I think having the roadmap in place and having the plan is truly the basis for everything. And being able to move a training session around in terms of timing, you need to be super flexible around that. You need to plan early. You need to share that plan with other people. I think that's really key to this, isn't it? You know, it's all well and good having a plan, but if you haven't communicated it to your team or your key stakeholders, then people can't rally around that and support each other to achieve those objectives. And so having that transparency, being able to share that publicly, and, you know, also reflect publicly. You know, I was recording vlogs, I was talking to the team, I was talking to the family, like, here's how I'm feeling, here's what's feeling good. I'm actually feeling battered this week. You might need to be a bit patient with me. So being able to, you know, people to see what you're going through. And I think, you know, it removes the excuses, it removes the misinformation. You know, it would be very easy to say, oh, life just got busy today, let's just ditch that training session. But you realize that by not working the plan, you're then setting yourself up for failure. And with everything in life, you know, you make kind of sacrifices or compromises today to better your future self. And I think that's the reality for many businesses is, you know, there's a comfort zone we're all in. We get power from our energy utility. It's worked for us for decades. Why change? Without seeing the challenges of not changing. And the challenges of not changing are, you know, we're experiencing more power outages, our costs are going up, we're being expected to be more sustainable, if we don't address those pain points and challenges early, and we don't embrace this opportunity, it gets harder and harder. And it'd be very easy for us to bury our heads in the sand and hope that someone else is going to figure it out for us. But the reality is we need to take control, and we need to continue to adapt and differentiate our businesses in order to provide the value to our stakeholders and our employees and our customers. And I think that's the key to having the plan, is it gives you the framework to do that, and removes the ability for you to take shortcuts and blame other people or lie to yourself about it's all going to fall into place.
Yeah, it makes me. I've been going through some of this recently. I've been reading an awesome book that you recommended to me or got me, the Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and it's been forcing me to think through some of these things myself and make those choices. I remember years ago someone told me there's the easy choice and the right choice in many things, and often the easy choice is to sit on the couch and do nothing, and the right choice for where, at least for me, where I want to be is to get up and move. And so as you've been talking through this, you've talked on a variety of folks that have been kind of in that journey. It is very much a solo event. It's a one man putting one foot in front of another for 100 miles, but It wasn't a Gareth Evans alone. Maybe talk about the community and how, when going on the energy transition, it also requires such a wide array of stakeholders.
Yeah, absolutely. From an endurance event, I think in the moment it's you and your thoughts and you and your physical condition. But the reality is, to get there, I needed Melanie to be willing to see me disappear for an entire day on my long training runs. So every Saturday I'd be gone from anywhere from 3 to 8 hours. And so, having that non-existent partner and dad for months on end is, it's a compromise. And so having people who understand that. At work, it was, people supporting and encouraging and accepting that I may not always be mentally or physically on. So there was those moments of needing that support and the team rallying behind me. And then having the likes of Rob, showing up at the race, supporting me there. He rented an RV. I had a base in which to put my stuff, settle in, have a bit of comfort before and after the race, and have someone there to cheer me on, make sure I was eating and drinking when I should. And for businesses, this is really important. We know that it takes a village to get these energy transition strategies developed, and then on-site energy systems and assets deployed, because this not only impacts the financials of the business, it impacts operations, it impacts sustainability, it impacts the real estate investments we make. There's many people involved that need to come together to ensure that we are developing the right plan, that we're working the plan, and that we're then managing our risks and opportunities, whether that be through legal, procurement. So making sure everyone has access to a single source of truth, the same data, the same structure, the same repeatable process, and that we're able to actually assess and reflect on how we're performing, what are we doing, and ultimately celebrating those little wins. It's great to be able to come back after a long run and have people to celebrate that with you. And it's the same in the energy industry, or in business. How do we celebrate our wins?
Well, and two, beyond that, also pulling in the right parties at the right time, I think, is a critical one. As I'm remembering back to your journey, there was times, I'm sure early on, it was relatively easy to get going, as far as you made your plan. The first few weeks, your runs were 5, 10, 15K. That was relatively within the range of what you had done previously. But as you started to get further along, maybe talk a little bit about, I remember your footwear was having to change, your nutrition was evolving. You were then needing to seek out some physical therapy and some massage therapy. So talk about how, as your training evolved and as you got further along in your journey, how that required pulling in different parties from what you had done previously.
Yeah, it's very easy to think that you can figure it all out yourself. And you're spot on, as the mileage ramped, the body was breaking down. And so having a masseuse and a physiotherapy expert to keep the body actually intact and make sure I could show up at the start line ready to run was super important, super critical. Having Sarah on our team recommending some new shoes, had a meditation apps, I had good nutrition plans, so having a family actually committed to eating healthy and making sure that we're doing that together. So it takes all sorts, doesn't it? In business, this is like having the right suppliers, making sure that we're asking the right questions of the market to get the right results, and being able to understand that I may use one supplier in California to do my solar and storage, but I'm going to use a completely different supplier in Florida, especially if the technologies are different. The supplier is going to do a gas system for me versus solar is hugely different. Maybe I want to self-finance a system at one facility, and at another I want to get an energy as a service contract. So having that access to that network of experts and suppliers is really key to the success of deploying these assets at scale.
Yeah, it makes me think about our biotech firm that just launched their RFP in the marketplace, the VECKTA marketplace, earlier this week. And on their journey, they had very strong resilience needs, specifically because they have biopsy samples that they just simply can't lose due to a power outage. And they had talked to many different solar vendors and contractors and EPC firms saying, yeah, we don't think batteries are right. We don't do batteries, only to be introduced to us. And now we're going to get half a dozen great bids from suppliers that are eager to deploy a solar and battery energy storage system. And so it just means that even if you're maybe not talking to the right folks now, it doesn't mean that the right folks aren't out there when going down this path.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so Gareth, we're 6 weeks out since wrapping this up.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest learning that you had that you have now that from where you were back in December when you set out on this journey?
Yeah, I think there's a few big reflections, Dan. I think the first is I completely overlooked the recovery side of this. So completed the event and essentially drove straight from the event to LAX and jumped on a plane up to Alaska for a conference. And, if I'd have come home, I would have had access to hot tubs, cold plungers, massage guns, good nutrition. And instead, here I was in kind of a Airbnb with none of those facilities and no one around me to really even help. It took me half an hour to walk 200 yards just to get a smoothie the next morning. And I think I massively hurt myself in terms of the recovery phase. And so I didn't sleep very well. Being in Alaska, it was like 24 hours almost, and so trying to get good sleep, trying to recover, going to a conference, the muscles didn't have a chance to work through it. And so I think I really delayed the recovery. And I think for businesses, we have our game plans, we have our energy transition roadmaps, we start on the journey. The key is to build in those pause moments. In every good flow cycle, there's always a recovery phase. I think not underestimating the fact that we should pause, look at the data, what's worked well, what do we need to improve, how do we continually optimize and modify our plan, and how do we celebrate those wins, because those wins create that compounding value. And that gets everyone excited and helps us achieve further opportunities. And so I think really embracing that recovery or reflection phase is really important. And I think secondly would be using these as major springboards. Now I actually feel antsy when I'm not running or training because I've achieved this big goal. And so I want to achieve more. And so I've always enjoyed these events, and this is just another one in a stepping stone of adventures. And I think the compounding value piece we keep talking about in training, it's when I'm training, I'm eating better. When I'm eating better, I'm sleeping better. When I'm sleeping better, I'm more mentally on it. And so you get this like real compounding value, and it makes you want to train more. It makes you want to eat cleaner. And so your whole lifestyle becomes a lot better. And for businesses, the opportunity is as we set this goal and as we deploy these systems, we're going to reduce our operating costs. That's going to give us more money to go and deploy more systems, which will save us even more money. This money will now allow us to reinvest in other things like optimizing our business even further. We'll have more sustainable operations. So now we'll attract and retain the best customers, the best employees, the best investors, which improves our business further. We have more resilient operations so we can meet our contractual obligations. So you build this like amazing flywheel effect of success. And we need to realize this opportunity. This isn't just like, let's tread water and let's manage a risk. This is how do we truly differentiate ourselves and upskill our entire business and lives. And I think that's what's most exciting for me.
Yeah. As you were describing that, it made me think through like everything that you've been talking about has been this journey, this process. And while there was a very distinct event for you that happened, it didn't stop there. It's continued in impacting your life in a positive way. And I think as companies work towards reducing their costs or hitting a 2035, 2040, 2050 net zero target, it doesn't stop there. It continues there. It transforms the way that they conduct business and it drives us to build better, more resilient companies. And it makes me think about people that are going through a health kick and trying to lose weight. Big crash diets, they're gonna maybe drop and then they're gonna rebound back up to the weight that they were at. But true lifestyle changes, adopting things that you can do day in and day out, week in, week out, year after year, and it's not a New Year's resolution or something. I think that same thing can be brought into the energy landscape. And I think we see a lot of companies that set this big goal, net zero by whatever 2040, 2050 in the future. No different than someone on January 1st saying, I want to lose 20 pounds. But then most companies are taking diet pills or these crash diets where they're buying renewable energy certificates or offsets or something. And they're not actually addressing the core problem and changing their behavior and changing their lifestyle or their business operations. And that's really what we're talking about here, is about finding something that can work, putting together a plan, putting one step in front of another, embracing the journey and knowing that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey and creating a better business. And that's really a big part of what I've heard from you today, Gareth.
Yeah. And I think for us, like each of us individually, by setting that example and rallying a team of people around you to go and achieve these business objectives, it also improves your own social status. And I think we all are ego-driven people to some degree. And the opportunity for people to step up, say, I want to own this, I want to drive it, I want to realize this vision, this value, and help differentiate our business. And this is like a business imperative. This is to ensure that your business exists in the future, because if you don't have access to reliable, affordable, sustainable energy, then you're going to be under threat from those that do. And so I think this is the opportunity that everyone should be embracing, is like, let's get after this and let's do it together and let's have fun in the process and let's really celebrate the wins, show the progress, and not be afraid of making these no regret decisions, because the no regret decisions are going to have a positive return on investment. We're going to learn some lessons. It's not all going to go perfectly to plan, but let's be agile enough to reflect on that and adapt on the fly based on data to continuously improve.
Yeah. Well, the energy transition is the biggest challenge, certainly our generation and arguably any have faced, certainly that of businesses. And so it's the ultra marathon of business. So let's embrace it. Let's put together a plan and put one foot in front of another to make progress, learn from mistakes and adapt to the changing environment. I think I appreciate you for leading by example, living by our values, putting yourself out there and recognizing that you need to embrace that in order to have people see what the art of the possible is. Now let's go do that with businesses and it's inspiring. I mean, There's so many businesses out there that are excited to take on this journey, that are taking this journey, and others that are maybe fearful today, but see with a little guidance where the potential could be. So thank you for sharing your journey here, Gareth. I'm excited to know what the next big physical challenge is. I don't know if you've identified that yet, but it's certainly inspiring.
Gonna knock out Mount Whitney end of the summer just to notch that one up. But yeah, stay tuned. There'll be lots more adventures. Take on the challenge. I think that's always the hardest. This seems scary, but embrace it, get after it. You'll absolutely love it.
Beautiful. Thanks, Gareth. We'll catch you next time, folks.
Cheers, Dan.
We receive a lot of questions from business leaders around the world wanting to learn more about the energy transition, what is possible, and where to start. So to help you stay informed and up to date on best practices, opportunities, risks, and success stories, we created an industry newsfeed at VECKTA.com/news with all our podcasts, blogs, and newsletter. Check it out and connect with Dan, myself, and the VECKTA team to learn more. Cheers and have a good one.